I'm going to talk about the cooperation of animals in the hope that we can learn from them. And at some point, to be in style, I will ask your cooperation also during my talk. I'll show you that simple organisms can produce extremely complex behavior through simple patterns of collaboration, and extremely complex organisms, like we are, can produce the simple collective patterns of behavior. So here are a few examples for the topic of my talk. I'm not sure you can guess that these complex patterns are produced by bacteria. This is another creature. These are Mormon crickets who march through their lifestyle from one place to another, migrate. This is also known from popular science movies, that when fish get into trouble, they produce extremely complex turbulent forms of motion. And this is just a picture, it's not a movie, but it shows how extremely well Gordon rays can organize their group motion. I have dozens of examples, or much more, for all sorts of collective motion. During what they are doing here, for example, these are starlings in England, they really have to exchange information and collaborate. They are just birds. We don't exactly understand how it is going on, but I'll try to interpret what is going on. So at this stage, one of the conclusions is that very different animals can produce extremely similar and a variety of patterns. These are birds, seemingly birds, which take this simple way of cooperation, but these are in fact mammals, they are bats. So there's really a variety. Now at this point, when I was preparing this talk, I realized that apparently this topic was already planted into my mind when I was a child, because there was epidemics of ladybugs when I was about 10 years old. And I put them on a tray, and I let them compete, and I had some favorite ladybugs, and I bet which one was going to win. And also, as I think some of the physicists, at least Richard Feynman, who was one of the greatest ones, I did much more modest experiments about a lot of simple organisms, and just put some barriers, trying to see what the ants are going to do. It's a collective decision-making mechanism through which they find the optimal solution if there is a barrier in there. I was interested in life sciences, but then this was in the late 50s. It seemed that humanity faces a huge problem of running out of energy. So I decided I want to be a physicist and solve the problem of unlimited amount of energy. So I entered physics. Everyone knows it didn't work, and in fact, I changed subject. And look what happened. I started to become interested in systems where things happen very much like what happened when there are many living organisms together. So these are just little metallic rods shaken. So I thought this is something what physicists like, because it's the idea of universality, which means in our language that you see the same thing in extremely different systems. So there must be something common in them, and that's the law. And I will show this statement on one particular motion pattern, and it's the circular motion. So this is a well-known example from, some people know that the fish are doing this. This is an ant colony, and I just downloaded this from YouTube. in South America, it's relatively not uncommon to notice that ants do this circling. And then we studied bacterial colony and zoomed on this single spot. And then we noticed that in that spot, the bacteria also circle. So is this a superficial similarity, or there is something behind? These are amoeba, Dictyostelium, which also does this even when it joins forces. These are unicellular organisms, and then they produce this stalk, and even the stalk is rotating. So to continue my examples, I'll show you this picture, and I also meanwhile start the other one because this time is running. And at some point you will see that people in Mecca each year from above look almost like our bacterial colony with the thousands of bacteria moving around. There must be a common reason for this, and this is how the imitation in robotics of that what I showed you about animals. So the fruit flies are much better than these things. So we would like to understand all of this. And at this point, I would like to ask you to join me in an experiment, which I have never done. And really, I don't know the outcome. And it's a simple experiment. I show what, I would like you to try to synchronize just doing this exercise with your hand, just waving with your hand. Can you just try to adapt to what you see around you? And it is a partial synchronization, I can tell, but it's not complete. So it's not so easy. But okay, this part is already complete. Oh, you are great. I have never tried this. Thank you very much. I don't have time. Thank you. Thank you. You could do it. You have to know that you didn't know what the frequency has to be. You didn't know the phase of the others. It was completely what we call self-organized. If I was here and I would like the conductor in front of an orchestra, that's easy. But this was completely self-organized. This is how birds do it. We think. We don't know. I will show you an exciting example about how small groups of birds do it. It's very sophisticated. So this is the physicist approach. So you have an observation, and then which is shown through a wide variety of systems. And now, as an old-fashioned sort of approach to science, you want to classify what you see. And that's the categories of motion patterns. And then finding the basic laws which produce this behavior. And that's what we started doing first through modeling. So you just modeling is an extremely simple a model is an extremely simple projection of reality, which still has in it the most essential features of reality. I don't have to tell you that I myself, as a person, in your eyes, what you see is an extremely simple model of me. So, but this still works somehow. We can get along, with each other. Not always. So what is a good model? It has to be simple, and it has to make predictions. We really want useful models. We really want to use them. So, and the way we use them, they're useful for us if they predict what we have to do if we really want to succeed in a particular. And there's an extremely simple model for collective motion of objects. No, fish schools, let's say. You just take this particle, it looks around and senses the average direction of its neighbors. And then there is a it moves with the same velocity, and there's a fluctuation because it's not perfect. No two chess games are the same. I mean, even the seemingly deterministic situations always have in them fluctuations which change the global behavior, the result. In that case, I guess the neurons, the individual neurons don't behave the same way all the time due to the electrons running up and down. So we have this simple model. In this model, each little arrow is trying to align with the neighbors, but there is some fluctuation. And there is nothing else in it. And we already have fish schools, things which look like fish school. So we have to jump to lessons from this part of the talk. And it is, there are some universal patterns. There are simple models which describe some of these. For example, this is exactly the same model, but here it's circles and they are put in a pool. And they are trying to align. And in a way of self-organization, they find the rotational motion pattern, which is the stable one. Fluctuations are essential, and all this is due to a fact that we all learned in I think it's a high school or elementary school material, Newton's law. The momentum is conserved if two things collide. If they are coupled to the environment, if they are flying or swimming, then the momentum of these two objects is not conserved. So it's a new science in this sense. In this sense, it's the collective behavior of systems where during a collision, the momentum is not conserved. It's not, the energy is still conserved because it's. So we have these motion patterns, disordered, fully ordered motion pattern, rotational, as I showed. There's this is what I call critical because it is extremely sensitive to perturbations. That's how this complex pattern is produced. It's like turbulent air. You change a little bit, and then a few meters away, things already are completely different. And there is jamming, which I didn't show an example for, but we all know what it is. So if you want to move, and you have to move with others, if the conditions are not optimal, jamming occurs. So if we understand all this, then there is a good chance that we can provide help for a better understanding of traffic jams, escaping of panicking people. We have a model which eventually models how people are trying to get out from a room. And there is this fantastic perspective, which really is very attractive at this point for us, that you just release, like bees or like ants, you release hundreds of cheap, stupid robots, and they cooperate on the surface of Mars and discover things for us. And this is a new important direction in technology or science. It's absolutely multidisciplinary. You learn from birds, then you make a model as a physicist, and then you need an engineer who designs the robots, and then they collaborate. I showed you the stage of that, but we are moving forward, and we are getting better. And this is the last topic, and it's about what happens if you want to get a little bit deeper into the dynamics, how a flock of birds, of 10 birds, organizes, how it makes the collective decision of finding the best route towards home. So for that, we put on their back little GPS devices. But before I show you an example that we are usually not aware of, that how delicate the interaction between a bird flock can be. It's a much more complex behavior, and at some point they even start to give clear visual signs to each other that it's about deciding when and where to land. Some of them already would like to, some not. And at some point, 13 seconds from now, in the movie, they land. So we built these GPS devices, and they were, at that time, 2 years ago, this was the world record. Now it's 5 grams. And it's amazing. And then you put it on, these are our pigeons. They are flying around the loft, and then they get back with the backpacks in which the GPS devices are, as you see. And then we remove the GPS devices and read out the data. And now this is a visualization of the data. It's a fancier one than eventually we used. And this is the data. It's a visualization of the data. So these are true data. And then, and in this case, the camera goes with the center of mass, and that's a, and then you see that on their way home, some gets lost, some stays behind all the time. In this case, the yellow changes the global behavior at some point, and so it's very complex. And so we get a lot of data, and as a physicist, we calculate the correlation functions, and we determine who is leading, who is behind, in pairwise relations. And it turns out that this is how the graph looks. He is followed most of the time. This other guy also has its own followers. And there's some overlap. It's just 10 pigeons, and it's very complicated. Just a short video from the other point. At this point, they are completely lost. They just turn back, and it's because of this yellow. But I don't have time to. She was the no. Okay. She was the only female in the group. So this is the question. In fact, she was not trained. She was put. We lost a male, and we had to replace, and we didn't have more males, and we put and so there is an explanation. So is there a single leader they follow? Is it egalitarian? These are just birds. Or is it much more complicated? That they build their own knowledge-based hierarchy. Hierarchy in animal kingdom is known because of dominance hierarchy. But this is knowledge-based hierarchy. They knew that the A, was the smartest. They knew because they knew each other. I mean, it's a long story, but they knew each other. And they followed that one. And I think this is my last. It has questions. Do they organize their flight, their collective decision-making about the best direction because it's the optimal, or it just happens like this? We don't know. We have to study this. Do we people make decisions similarly? I don't have time to explore it. You think of it, you will find out this is what we are doing. And I guess this is how optimal robotic flocks have to be designed. So my last question is, the question we put to ourselves a couple of months ago, how to show in a quantitative manner, with equations, if you wish, that to live in hierarchies is an optimization of the possible, that's how we optimize our life. Thank you very much.